here we go. I'm going to introduce you to Andy. And you're thinking, well, who's Andy? Do you know how every now and then you get someone who's just got a real genius and is really expert at something? And what he's really good at is building a business on LinkedIn.
If it's a bit windy, I'm in southern Spain now, as you now know. I moved there since we last sort of spoke, and the wind's got up. I'm in Costa del Sol, which is also known as Costa del Wind. So your guys watching this are going to have to put up with this beard moving around because it's too hot to go and sit in that room.
And I remember Costa del Sol about 2010 when the arse fell out of the property business and it dropped about 80%. So yeah, I know exactly where you are. The Let's talk about the LinkedIn. You've because a lot of guys I think should be using LinkedIn more, but they probably don't have an understanding around it, what it can do or what it can't do. And if we start at the very top, you know, the benefits to LinkedIn are what?
Benefits of LinkedIn are being able to find, connect, and engage to get to the person you want to get to in whatever format that is, whether it's a job, whether it's a sales prospect, whether my middle nephew found an internship in Hong Kong from the UK in between university. It's the biggest. We can use it as a networking tool, but it's the biggest platform of connections. It's now reached 1 billion personal profiles since COVID. We came out of COVID. You know, we had a lot of people using it in COVID. But since, which has staggered me, I didn't think it'd get that big. So it's the biggest platform of connections, really.
So when we talk about, would you put it in the basket of social media, or would you have to sit LinkedIn out by itself?
I want to bring it out by itself, but the posting side is the social media side. So I had a lady the other day, I hate social media. I said, okay, let me give you my view. And there's so many different ways people look at LinkedIn. 80% of it for me is to find someone, connect with them, right? Then these guys would need to write this down, connect in the right way, and then engage in the right way. I know we're going to come on to this because people just don't know how to engage in a meaningful way. It depends on your definition of social media, but for me, 80% of LinkedIn is to find someone, connect with them, and then engage with them. And I want to get the conversation off LinkedIn. They probably won't like me for saying that. Yes, people consume content. I had a lady today said, I've been reading your stuff for 6 months. I said, but we've never connected. You've never engaged on my stuff. She said, no, I don't do that. I look for the information I want. When I'm ready, I'll go contact the person I want to contact with. So we've got to be putting stuff out there for that to be seen. Um, but for me, it's about finding the people and going to connect and engage with them.
Okay, so let me stop there because I want to pivot a little bit. Um, you're coming new into the business. Everybody goes, oh, you know what? You got to get into social media. You got to get on your Facebook. You got to get in your Instagram, and you've got to be posting every single day and creating this presence. Well, what you know, being in business and what you do, is it more about just having a presence, or do you really need to post every day in all these marketing social media machines in order to get a business up and running?
Mate, you've been on around the block longer than me. And when I started with Action Coach, and I know you know Brad Sugars who founded that because you're both Aussies, we had about 70 or 80 different ways we could generate leads, but there was no social, there was no digital, you know. So we had email, we had knocking doors, we had websites, we had telemarketing, we had whatever we had. And then suddenly you could add a zero to that because you've got all the social media platforms. So I think the same rule applies as applied back then. It's who do you want to get to? And where do they hang out in the highest concentration? Stroke, what's the easiest way to get to them? I had someone the other week said, you need to be on TikTok. I said, you need to boil your head. I haven't got time, but I've got growth. I've got leads. If I want more leads, I have a strategy of, as you know, webinars, but I promote them through LinkedIn and then I'm connecting on LinkedIn. Then we're following on LinkedIn. So I can just do more of that. I can't do it all. And I don't think any business can. And so you and I know we both work with a lot of property investors, real estate investors. Yes, they can find possibly deals on LinkedIn, but most of them want property. Most of them want cash investors. Those we go out to business owners all day long on LinkedIn. So if you're business to consumer, if you're selling watches, then you go to eBay or Amazon. You wouldn't go on LinkedIn necessarily. But for any business to business and business to professionals, you know, to the accountants, the solicitors, uh, most of the time I would suggest LinkedIn's your best starting point and can be your biggest strategy. And I know that you're a master of language and sales and psychology. And it doesn't, all LinkedIn is the vehicle, but it's the most powerful vehicle. And most people don't know their way around that vehicle. You buy a new car, my my partner, Mary, she wouldn't know where the rear window demister is or how to plug in Apple CarPlay because she hasn't read the manual or been taught. She knows how to drive the thing. So people get into LinkedIn. Yes, you should be building your network. We know our network equals our net worth. We know that it's often who we know, not what we know. But now you're talking about the detail of what do I say and how do I say? And that's what we've tested and used for well over a decade of refining engagement process, engagement sequence, what to give, what to say. I'm big into giving an asset or value. Hey, it was great to connect, Rick. I like to add value to my connections. By the way, I know you're a property investor. Here's an article I've just written on how to make more money in your SA business. Have it with my compliments. But also, you're right. I got the other day, would you please follow my page? And I just sat there and I hadn't even got time to go back and go, why?
Why?
I don't know. Who are you? Give me a reason. Give the person a reason to do whatever you want them to do. If you've got kids, you ask them to clean their bedroom, you give them a reason. The reason is you don't get any pocket money or I'll thrash you, one or the other. But you give them a reason. Give people a reason to have a conversation with you, to engage with you, to follow your page or download whatever it might be. We can obviously go a lot deeper. Here's the thing, guys. People don't care about you. I care about you, Rick. Nobody cares about me. They care that I can help them make more sales on LinkedIn, grow their network, learn to engage better, learn to sell better. They don't care about me. So people have got to learn how to market. They've got to learn how to give value, and then they've got to learn how to sell. People hate that word, don't they, Rick? But it's the
Well, they
oldest
really
profession
do.
in
And
the
I think
world.
that's, and I think that's to do with the communication of how the younger people communicate to how we were brought to communicate. Because the way we were communicate, we used to play in the front yard, play in the backyard with the kids in the street, hospital chasings, tag, all that sort of stuff. Well, the kids these days, you've got to remember, it's don't talk to strangers. We all live in apartments and flats, no front yard, no backyard. And we all get a device like this at the age of 7, right? We all tap on this. And that's our style of communication. So there actually is no pure communication. I always say that binge drinking started in the Western countries when everybody comes 18. They've never actually spoken to a girl or a boy for real. It's always been over a device. You've walked into a bar, you think, what am I going to say to Sally Brown? Well, nothing until I've had 6 shots, right? And then I'll give it a shot. But well, that's it because they're missing these communication skills. And as you said, I think I'm always fascinated by the amount of younger people who say, "Oh, I hate selling." Now, what you're really trying to say is you just don't know how to because you never learned to. And it's not that you had to go to a selling school. It was like when you were 7 or 8 years old, you're never in the backyard going, I want the skipping rope. Well, I'll take the skipping rope as long as you play tag or whatever that is, right? Those conversations never happen.
I think you're right, and I think you're right. You maybe the conversations are not taking place, like you said. I want the skipping rope. That's not happening. I also think people, I don't know, people don't think, and we know that we know people are distracted all the time, aren't we? We're focusing on plus or minus 7 bits of information. So I don't think they think. And I think that the challenge with people going into business is they rock into business because they got a great product or service, but they haven't learned to market and sell. But you've got to have people around you to learn. And I guess the challenge, if we come back to LinkedIn, there is so much noise. There is so many people. I've just had a lady again today. It's the same lady that I've mentioned 3 times, by the way. There were a lot of things came out of it. It was the call before ours. And she said, I tell people not to connect with everybody. We just get very, very, very clear on the ideal person we want and we build that network. I said, I understand that. I've heard that. I actually tell people to connect with everybody. Anyone who asks to connect with me, I accept. Anyone who views my profile, I connect with them. Why? Because now I've got access to their connections that I can find in future searches. Because then I can go and connect with those people who are ideal. And she went, because I'm using the search function in Sales Navigator, which she isn't as much. And she went, I get you. I think I've probably missed a lot of opportunities.
So, okay, so
So
that's, let me, right now, this is a tool that people don't understand. So when people come and check you out on LinkedIn, if you then turn around and you say, oh, that person checked me, I'll go and connect with that person. When you connect to that person, you're now connected to their network. Is that correct?
correct. So if I do a search by what I call my second tier connections, that's connections of my connections. I can find those people because if I'm connected to you, your connections will come up in the searches. If I search for a purchasing manager in Brisbane and you're connected to one, I'll be there. And then I can connect with them because then the power is, hey Rick, I came across your profile. I wanted to connect, especially as we share some great mutual connections. Because that's a given. Because you're a second tier, you're a connection of my connection. So yeah, bang on.
Yeah, no, someone talked to me about the best form of marketing the other day. I said word of mouth. You can either spend $1 million a year trying to promote yourself, or someone else promotes you. Because you know what? Whenever you look for somebody, a plumber and electrician, none of us said, they always say the same thing. Listen, do you know a good plumber or a good electrician? None of us says, hey, listen, do you know a really average plumber or a really average electrician, right? So,
Yeah, I do. I know loads, mate.
yeah, well, that's it. So, but everybody always wants ask for the best, right? So, word of mouth, you can have all the marketing. I said to somebody the other day, I can have all the marketing in the world. And if I said to you, mate, who's a good electrician? And you said, speak to Jerry. This guy over here called Tom could have been sending me stuff in the mail for 10 years. But as soon as you say, speak to Terry or Jerry, that will override the guy that spent $1 million marketing to me.
If every one of those connections has 1,000 connections, you have 1 million second tier connections. Now, most SME, self-employed solopreneurs that you and I network with a lot have more than 1,000 connections on average because we're using LinkedIn more. Let's say you got 5,000 and your average has 1,000. You've now got 5 million second tier connections. So when I bought this house in Spain, or as I was buying it, I went out to my connections and said, do you know a great English speaking Spanish lawyer and mortgage broker? I got the referrals in within 24 hours of going out to my network on LinkedIn. Go figure, guys. And that's not the sales side. That's just the networking, as you said, word of mouth side. My formula for success is massive action, MA, times, it's a formula, the right stuff, RS, times consistently, which is C, equals R results. Because you can go and connect you can send out 200 invites on LinkedIn a week. LinkedIn will let you do that to connect. But if your connection invite and then your welcome message is terrible, is, hey, look at my website, hey, buy from me, massive action times 0 equals 0. Learn to write the right stuff and say the right stuff. And then, yeah, human beings, I think we're wired not to be consistent. We'll change stuff, we'll do things and then stop, won't we? It's easy not to do something.
Yeah, because it works so well, so we stopped doing it.
One of the other things you can do on LinkedIn, right? If you publish your webinar or your podcast, your event correctly, LinkedIn will allow you to send out 1,000 invites a week to your connections. Awesome. And allow you to upload the registrations into your Office CRM, which is absolute gold because they're targeted people. So I've been delivering for a client for 12 months. Every month does a webinar. We drive about 100, 150 registrations through LinkedIn, through my system, through their profiles. And then he says, I'm changing that. We changed the headline of the webinar, got a better response. And then a few months later, he said, I'm changing the headline to blah, blah, to something about businesses. I went, that's not as powerful as what we've been using. No, I know, but we haven't been making the sales on the webinar. I went, this is about driving attendees. You've got to sell to them on the webinar. You change the headline, you'll get less people turn up. It's not about you selling to them. He went, yeah, I'm going to try it anyway. Guess what? Oomph. I couldn't wait to ring him up and go, I told you, let's go back to the old headline. Why'd you change stuff? Why'd you stop doing stuff that works?
So with what you're doing now, what's your biggest challenge?
So my biggest challenge is just getting my mindset around. Go do that, Andy. Go jump into it for 6 months. Focus on the end game. I think it's too easy for people and for me to go, it's busy right now, I don't like it. The moment I just, what is it? Set the intention, let go of the attention, great stuff comes in. So have I answered the biggest challenge? I just need to get my head around. I need to do a bit more work than I've done in the last 3 years, but it's only to get things on the, what is it? On the crest of the wave, or on the, what do we call it? On the wake. And it'll roll.
Look, people say to me all the time, where's the money? I go, it's called activity. You don't know where the money is, but where there's activity, it just drops. The low hanging fruit just drops, right? You shake the tree and stuff's just going to drop. But you don't know where it's going to drop. It just does, you know? And it's funny, when you're on fire, people feel it. So when you're on fire and you're getting excited or you're pumped about something, people just feel the energy. I remember 35 years ago when I met Jane, my wife. We're at a party. I wasn't with her. She was across the room, right? And I was thinking, well, who am I going to meet? And I remember thinking, God, that girl's just radiating happiness, excitement. And what attracted me to her was this radiance of energy that said, like, she would be a fun person to meet, right? And I'll never forget that. This is 35 years later. I should tell her one day. Anyway, so the point was, that's what got me walking across this room. So once you start doing stuff, it's just really surprising how other people just get attracted to it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the other thing I'd add to that as well is, if someone said to me, what's the one thing that you've attributed to your success? I'd say I've been open to opportunities. What is it when preparation meets opportunity, success? This lady I've talked about that I spoke with today, my automated system wished her a happy birthday. We've been connected for years. But she came back and said, "Hey, thanks, but I'd love to know more about what you do and share what I do." And my first reaction was, "I don't want you to share what you do. I don't know what you do. I want, do you have a need for my services?" And I looked at her profile and it didn't tell me what she really did, or I didn't notice, I didn't pay attention. And my first little voice went, "I ain't got time for this. I'm just busy doing what I've just said I'm doing." And then I went, "No, no, no, take the call. You said you finish at 2. It doesn't matter if it's 2:30. I'm living in Spain. I'm in the sun now. I've got time. I've got more time than I've ever had 20 odd years ago." So I took the call. It's going to be one of the best strategic partnerships in the last 90 days that we're going to have because of so many reasons. And it's like, it's too easy to say, "No, it can't work." I've been working with this business partner on this automation and these systems now for about 8 years. I remember him messaging me. I know exactly where I was when I was in England, and my little voice went, "Nah, I've had people hit me with this before." And then the bigger voice goes, "Take the call. You don't know. You don't. Who knows?" And that's when results happen as well. I think. Yeah.
What gets you excited these days?
What gets me excited? Oh, hombre. Um, in business, making the sale, making money. Why? Because if you're saying what is it, I like success, I like numbers, but if I'm making money, it's because other people are getting value. I used to sell safety footwear and I'd get commission and make money, but were my customers juiced, excited, over the moon? No, not really. They had to buy because legislation said they might have got something more comfortable. They might have got something quicker. I got the odd guy say most comfortable pair of boots I've ever had in my life, but that was it. But if I make money now, it's because other people are getting great results. They're making sales. They're getting business. They're learning how to network. They're learning how to engage. The lady who said, "I hate social media," went away and went, "Wow, thanks." Because I said, just look at it as if you've walked into a pub with someone and you're talking, or at the tennis court, and just talk to people as if it's you. It's only LinkedIn. It's a platform. Don't get hung up over it. And it blew her mind. That's cool. So that's what juices me is if I make money, it's because other people are getting results as well, I guess.
Give me a life lesson you've had to learn the hard way.
Okay. I've often thought of this with a lot of the interviews I had, but actually the one that really does come clear is we franchised our LinkedIn training and coaching. Again, I've mentioned Action Coach. So I was a franchisee. I've worked with franchisors. I've worked with franchisees. I understood the franchise system. And I also thought, as a franchise business coach, I found it difficult selling high-end ticket business coaching and especially coaching others to do that. So I thought, I can franchise my LinkedIn training, speaking, consultancy business, and I can teach people to sell LinkedIn training far easier than business coaching because the demand's greater. And so I just took franchisees on, and I had 4 of them club together and try and sue us. And there was a potential. My barrister said to me, we're good. We got a case. But who knows, if the judge doesn't like beards, you could lose. It was, and I realized after that I should have invested more time bringing on the right people and then developing and helping the people that I'd got. Um, that was it. I took the sales and I was still busy trying to generate revenue in my own sales. I should have focused on the business. So I suppose the overriding lesson was slow down, Gwyn. Definitely to slow down. It's definitely to do what you really know you should be doing. So I should have invested more time with them and getting the right people. How many of us have had clients that then they weren't the right clients because we took them on because we wanted the sale? Um, and probably to have planned it out more. But definitely to have brought on the right people and said no to a few of them, and then when I got them, invest more time in developing them. That cost me and Mary a lot of money, but actually I didn't realize till after, until 2 mates said, "You look better," when it had all been put to bed. The emotional impact on me, I was just going, it's hard work for Mary. I'm tough. And actually I realized no, it was close to rock bottom. So it was a big learning, which made me sit down and then go, right, what do I want in my business? And what don't I want? And so I defined that and went, there's my rules, there's my vision. That's what I stick to now.
Yeah, look, can I just say, I mean, we've all had, I mean, the biggest mistake I ever made was when I was offered an out of court settlement when I wrote a book, right? But because the lawyer said, "Rick, you cannot lose. It's the impossible case. You cannot lose it." And of course, the rest is history, right? That was the
Yeah, I
biggest court
remember that.
case in the world, right? And it was like, some people always go, "How did you end up going to court?" Well, it was the unlosable case. But again, shouldn't have been there. The most important thing do you think everybody's ever said to you?
but it was actually Jim Rohn and it was Brad that quotes Jim Rohn. And I was fortunate enough to see Jim Rohn on stage at the Speakers Hall of Fame in Arizona before he passed away. And he said, you should work harder on yourself than you do on your job. I think we've got to work harder on ourselves than we
Well,
do
I
on
think
our
the
job.
way to get smarter, you just hang out with, always be the dumbest guy in the room, not the smartest guy in the room, right? Smartest guy in the room, you can't learn anything.
Yeah, when I joined Action Coach, I said there are $1 million coaches around the world. So when I go to conference, I want to network with them.
Most people can't sell. Are you saying they never could sell, or they can't sell now, or the world or the environment in which they're living needs a different style of selling? So, what do you mean by that?
Oh, great question. When I joined Action, and I go on because you and I met because of it, I'm here because of it. But I came out of a sales environment, and I remember my master licensee saying, "You've got to learn to sell if you're going to go into business and do this yourself." I said, "That's great. I've started to study coaching. I want to know you're going to teach me how to coach. I'm fascinated by coaching." Yeah, yeah, that's fine, but you've got to be able to sell. I said, "I can sell. I've been knocking on doors since I was 21." I learned more about sales process. I didn't know sales was a process and sales psychology in the first 3 months in 2003. And I'm still learning. I've just caught myself on a call before now because this lady was talking about sales. We're talking about the same thing. She studies a lot with some of the top guys in the world. And I caught myself as she was talking, going, Win, you are not following the process you used to do rigidly 15 years ago when you were coaching. I haven't been in the business coaching practicing for 15 years. I've been selling LinkedIn and I've become complacent because LinkedIn's an easier sell in a way. So it's possible some people have stopped learning. Do you need a different style nowadays? No, I think you need a different style. Do you need a different style of marketing? I think so, in a way. I think most people have not learned. I didn't believe sales was much of I didn't believe it was a system. And I just thought you knock on doors, you go talk to people, you get a sale. No, the sales is a skill and an art. Um, it's an art because it can be fun. It's a skill. So I think most people have never learned. I was a sales manager running a national sales team. I never studied sales. No,
I
no.
think when people say to you, geez, you're a good salesman, what they're really saying is you're so bad because a good salesman will never come across as a salesman. You'll never know you're being sold. You'll just want to buy something, but you don't know why. So I think the biggest insult you can get is when someone says to you, Jesus, you're a good salesman. That actually says how bad I am.
If it's someone who hasn't studied it, because there's two examples. I said I got potentially sued by these franchisees. The one was the one I'd done a discount with. I felt for him. He was unemployed sales manager that should have rung bells, but he'd been on all the trainings in the world. I know exactly where I was stood in my old house because I said, you've got all the information. Where are you at? Well, I've got 3 or 4 concerns. And I said, okay, let's discuss those. He said, oh, I know what you're going to do. You're going to negate every concern. You'll counter argue it so I can't argue with it. You'll negate it, and then I've got no objection. I went, yeah, if I can. And so we discussed them. The first point, what's the first problem you've got? Oh, it's blah, blah, blah. I said, so if you could do it this way or we did this, or how would that look, sound, feel? And you go, yeah, that'd be cool. I said, okay, so what was the other thing you were worried about? So we went through the 4. And then at the end, I said, so what do you want to do? He said, well, I've got to buy, haven't I? I went, if you say so. So he was the worst because he understood it. And the other time was a guy, that skill. At the end of pitching it all, I just looked at the guy and he looked at me and he said, is this the first person who speaks loses? So I just passed him the pen and he signed the contract.
Yeah.
Because he knew that philosophy of he who speaks first loses. And
Yeah.
I don't necessarily buy into that. But so I think people haven't learned. And actually, there's a lot of people do learn. More people have studied now than 20 odd years ago when I set up my business. But again, they'll do what I do. They don't focus on it and practice on it. And it's been in my psyche for it's the same with coaching and development for so long. I think people just we drop into, and I'm doing it now, aren't I? We drop into our natural behaviors, our characters, our profiles. And sure, that will serve us in some context. But if it doesn't serve us right now in the sales context, then then we've got to adapt. So I think, yeah, I think people don't learn. And there was a guy who was a local electrician, and his wife had got a little lighting shop up the alleyway, and he was opening, refurbing a big shop front in the high street. And I walked in. I said, hey, how you doing? Got chatting. I said, this is awesome. What are you doing? Oh, I'm the electrician. My wife's got. I said, yeah, yeah. I said, you've fitted out the shop beautifully, but you've got some stock here of soft furnishings. Yeah. I said, how much have you invested in this? He said, about 100 grand. And I said, well, can I explain? Tell me what you're doing for marketing when you open the doors. When do you open? And he said, well, nothing really. I said, well, here's what I've got. And it's only 100 quid a month. He said, I can't afford that. I said, well, you've just spent 100 grand on refurb, paint, stock, rent, but you've spent nothing. You've got no budget for marketing. He said, no. And within 3 months, I heard, because it was a small town, it had shut. I knew it had shut. He'd lost his electrical business, and he got divorced.
What are you putting off?
What am I putting off?
Yeah.
I need another vision. So it is to travel more, but wrap money around it, because I'm a man and I like the money thing. So January, I had a client fly me out to the Philippines to run a LinkedIn workshop. So I extended the travel. So that's what I'm putting off, is really getting serious with that as a goal, because I use the sales in the business as an excuse.
Get you. Thanks for coming on, having a chat, because of you're full of knowledge, and I'm going to share your resources so that people connect with you. But let's speak again soon.
I look forward to it, Rick. It's great to see you again as well after so long. Let's keep it going. It's fun.
Thanks, mate. Bye.